In this demo, I'm going to show you how to add a sharpening layer for printing. We do this by creating a composite layer and running a filter on it called high pass. Now to start this, you'll see that I have an image here that has these 3 layers of editing on top of it. This high pass sharpening layer that I'm going to do is going to happen at the end of my editing process. I'm going to add this on top of my layer stack, so no matter where I might have been in my layer stack, I'm going to select the very top layer first. I'm going to build on top of that. And the next thing I'm going to do is a keystroke or little menu item here to make a composite layer of all of these as a separate layer up above. There's a couple different ways I know how to do this. One is a complicated keystroke of Shift, Option, Command, and E together. And if you manage to do that with 1 or 2 hands, congratulations, that's a simple way to do that. Happens immediately. You can also go to the Layer Palette pop-out menu. I know you can't quite see the entire menu here, but if you go down to Merge Visible and you hold down Option key, when you click it and hold on to Option key, hold it down until, keep holding it until you see that layer pop up at the top. That's a composite layer of everything below it. I'm going to rename that layer High Pass Sharpening. I'm going to go to the blending mode for that layer and change it from normal to overlay. Now the image is going to look really contrasty for a minute here. Don't worry about that. We're going to change that real fast. We're going to go up to the filter menu, down to Other, and choose High Pass. And High Pass gives us a radius. Now I'm going to zoom in on the image so I can really see the details here. Zoom into 100%. You'll see in the high pass window here this kind of faint gray version of my image. What it's doing is it's just slightly lightening the lighter parts, it's slightly darkening the darker parts, and I can change the radius and therefore the effectiveness of this sharpening by this little slider down here. I'm going to scroll down to a lower part of my image where I can see the grass in this image. Now the higher I make the radius, the more contrast I add between the details. Generally speaking, what I like to do with this high pass is to set it to a number like 10, about there, which is a little bit more than I actually want, and I hit OK, and I'll turn this layer on and off, and you can see there's before, there's after. Let me pull back here a second and turn that on and off. Now you should see a difference, big difference. But that's too much for me, and what I'm now going to do is take the opacity of that layer down, and I can reduce how much impact I have in that layer. And all the while I can turn it on and off and say, okay, that's a little bit better. You want to see a little bit of a difference when you're zoomed into 100%. You do not want to see a huge difference if you are pulled back at 100%. So if I turn this on and off now, see a little teeny difference, maybe even more than I still want, so I'm going to pull that down just a little bit more, maybe down 15% or so. Turn that on and off. There we go, just a very slight difference, just a slight perking up of details. Now there's a few other ways that you could do this. You could set a low radius in your high pass and keep the opacity up. You can set a higher radius and keep the opacity down. What you do not want to have is to look at your details like around a contrasty edge and see little white outlines around your little darker details. That would not be good. That would mean that you have you've done too much sharpening. All right, now that I've added that, I can save my image, I can print my image, and away we go. I will not flatten this together with the other layers. I will always keep that high pass layer separate. I will turn it on for the sake of printing. And if I decide that I'm going to resize my image and print it on a different printer, different size, whatever, I will probably redo that high pass sharpening layer. I won't always use the same one. That's it.